I can't mimic voices for love or money. I'm completely hopeless at it. I was a really bad actor at school, and
In a stunning development that has sent shockwaves through Buckingham Palace, Tom Parker Bowles, son of Queen Camilla, has been sentenced in a case cloaked in unprecedented secrecy. The ruling, delivered behind closed doors and mysteriously absent from public court records, has resulted in his immediate removal from public life. Palace officials have imposed an extraordinary information blackout, but our sources have uncovered the disturbing reality behind his sudden disappearance. What could the Queen's son have done to warrant such severe consequences? And why has the royal family gone to extreme lengths to keep it hidden? Stay tuned, because this revelation will forever change how you view the British monarchy. The Secret Tribunal. On what appeared to be an ordinary Tuesday morning, Tom Parker Bowles arrived at a nondescript government building in London's diplomatic quarter. Unlike the high-profile court appearances of celebrities or politicians, there were no press photographers, no waiting crowds, just an unmarked entrance guarded by individuals who carried no visible identification, but moved with unmistakable military precision. Dressed in a conservative gray suit with no distinctive features, Tom was escorted through a private entrance and vanished from public view. A food critic and author who had carefully balanced his royal connections with an independent career, his expression betrayed no emotion as the doors closed behind him. Inside awaited what one source described as a tribunal rather than a court. The small windowless room contained only essential personnel. A panel of 3 judges with specialized security clearance, legal representatives who identified themselves only by last name, and a defense team that our sources claim had been appointed rather than selected by Tom himself. This wasn't a legal proceeding as the public would understand it, revealed a source with connections to diplomatic security protocols. This was risk containment operating under the thinnest veneer of judicial process. The charges, while never formally announced, allegedly centered around unauthorized communications with foreign entities, specifically, individuals connected to both international media organizations and foreign intelligence services. According to our sources, Tom had been under surveillance for months after certain patterns of communication raised red flags within royal security circles. It began with his legitimate food-writing contacts, explained a former colleague who requested anonymity. But somewhere along the line, he began exchanging information that went far beyond culinary matters. Information about palace operations, security protocols, and most damaging of all, private communications between senior royals regarding matters of state. What made this case particularly sensitive was the nature of the information involved. Unlike typical royal scandals centered around personal indiscretions, the material Tom allegedly shared touched on the monarchy's relationship with government, the constitutional gray area where royal influence intersects with political power. During the 7-hour proceeding, Tom reportedly maintained the composed demeanor that had characterized his public life. He spoke only when directly addressed by the tribunal, neither confirming nor denying specific allegations. Those present described his bearing as resigned rather than defiant, the demeanor of someone who understood the institutional machinery he faced. The ruling, when delivered late that afternoon, was extraordinary in both scope and severity. While not termed imprisonment in any conventional sense, the sentence mandated Tom's immediate sequestration at an undisclosed location, with no access to communication devices, publication platforms, or unapproved visitors. The official terminology, protective isolation for reasons of national security, barely concealed the reality: permanent removal from public life. As Tom was escorted from the room through a secure exit, he reportedly made a single statement to the senior security official overseeing the operation. "Tell my mother I understand the necessity." This phrase, cryptic to those unfamiliar with royal dynamics, has been interpreted by insiders as acknowledgement of the monarchy's ultimate priority: institutional survival above individual interests, even when family is involved. Within hours, he had been transported from London via military aircraft, his destination known only to a handful of officials with the highest security clearances. The containment operation. The palace's official statement, released the following morning, made no reference to any proceedings. It simply announced that Tom Parker Bowles would be stepping back from public duties indefinitely to address private health matters and requested privacy. The brevity and vagueness only intensified speculation among royal observers. Behind the scenes, an elaborate operation was already underway, not just to manage Tom's physical removal, but to systematically erase evidence of his activities. Teams with specialized training in digital forensics simultaneously accessed his London apartment, office, and country home. Computers were seized, mobile devices confiscated, and physical documents removed. But the operation extended far beyond simple evidence gathering. This wasn't just about collecting materials, revealed a source with knowledge of security protocols. This was about eliminating all digital footprints, scrubbing communication records, and creating an alternative narrative about his absence that could withstand public scrutiny. Most telling was the treatment of his professional workspace. According to witnesses, the office where Tom wrote his food columns and books was not simply searched, but methodically dismantled. Digital storage devices were removed. Reference materials were cataloged and transported to secure facilities. Even seemingly innocuous items like notebooks and appointment calendars were treated as sensitive materials requiring special handling. The thoroughness suggested not just concern about what he might have already shared, but fear about what channels of communication he might have established that remained undiscovered. There was serious concern about dead drops, scheduled information releases, or material already positioned with publishers overseas, explained a former intelligence officer familiar with such operations. When someone with his connections commits to sharing sensitive information, the ripple effects can continue long after they've been contained. This fear drove the next phase of the operation, identifying and neutralizing potential associates. Editors who had worked with Tom found themselves subject to unusual scrutiny. Publishers reported subtle pressure to delay or cancel projects involving him. The pattern revealed a coordinated effort to isolate anyone who might have served as his conduit to the wider world. Digital traces began disappearing as well. His social media accounts were either suspended or suddenly managed with notably different content and tone. Archives of television appearances where he had discussed royal connections became mysteriously unavailable on streaming platforms. Even photographs in which he appeared at royal-adjacent events were quietly removed from official sources and media libraries. Most concerning to those tracking the situation was the treatment of his published work. His most recent food columns disappeared from publication archives. Bookstores reported receiving requests to return unsold copies of his latest cookbook for a corrected edition that never arrived. The systematic removal of his professional output suggested concerns that extended beyond personal indiscretion to something embedded in his public work. The concern wasn't just what he knew, but how he might have encoded that knowledge in his published writing, suggested a literary analyst who had studied similar cases of writers under government scrutiny in other countries. Food writing provides remarkable cover for transmitting information through seemingly innocent references. Ingredients can be code names. Preparation techniques can signify methods of operation. Restaurant locations can indicate meeting points. The royal family fractures. Behind palace walls, Tom's sentence reportedly created the most significant family crisis since Prince Andrew's fall from grace. Queen Camilla, caught between maternal instinct and institutional duty, was described by insiders as outwardly stoic, but inwardly devastated. According to sources familiar with palace operations, she was informed of the action against her son only hours before it occurred, presented not as a request for her approval, but as a security necessity already in motion. Camilla was effectively told, rather than consulted, said one palace source. This wasn't a mother being asked about her son's fate. This was a queen being briefed on an operation affecting the monarchy's security. King Charles, meanwhile, allegedly maintained a more detached position. Sources suggest he viewed Tom's actions through an institutional lens rather than a personal one, as a security breach requiring containment rather than a family matter requiring compassion. This perspective has reportedly created tension in the royal marriage, with moments of strained silence replacing their usually warm rapport. The king sees monarchy as his life's purpose, explained a longtime royal advisor. Threats to its stability override personal considerations, even when family is involved. Camilla hasn't yet developed that institutional callousness that royal life eventually demands. Prince William has reportedly supported the action, viewing it as regrettable but necessary for protecting the monarchy's future. According to palace insiders, he was among those briefed on specific communications intercepted from Tom and recognized their potential to undermine public confidence in royal neutrality on political matters, a cornerstone of the modern monarchy's survival. Most surprisingly, Princess Anne, known for her dedication to duty and protocol, has allegedly questioned the handling of the situation. Sources claim she has expressed concern about the precedent of removing a royal-adjacent figure through extrajudicial means, suggesting that, once we operate outside the law, we undermine the very system we claim to uphold. For Tom's sister, Laura Lopes, the situation has allegedly triggered profound distress. Unlike her brother, Laura has maintained an intensely private life despite her royal connections. Sources close to her family report that she has made repeated requests to contact her brother, all of which have been denied citing security protocols. Laura is essentially being told that any attempt to reach her brother could implicate her as well, revealed one source. It's a cruel but effective method of ensuring family compliance, the implicit threat that concern could be interpreted as complicity. For Queen Camilla herself, the situation has created an impossible position. Sources describe a woman torn between institutional obligation and maternal anguish, permitted no direct communication with her son since the sentencing. All information about his welfare and circumstances comes through official briefings provided by the same security apparatus that engineered his removal. In public, she performs flawlessly, noted one senior household member. In private, the strain shows in small ways. Moments of distraction, unusual irritability, the occasional canceled engagement citing mild indisposition. She's grieving while having to pretend nothing significant has happened.
The palace has just issued this statement.
The courtroom falls silent, then screaming. Queen Camilla, the woman who once walked with grace and power, is no longer calm. Her life sentence has just been announced, and something inside her snaps. She throws off her royal mask, revealing a side of her no one has ever seen. Judges freeze, guards rush forward. People in the room gasp, shocked by what's happening, but Camilla doesn't care. She lashes out, knocking over chairs, shoving anyone who gets too close. Her eyes burn with fury. She shouts at the judge, at the lawyers, at the guards holding her back. This isn't the same queen the world once knew. This is a woman who has lost everything, and she's not going down quietly. What made her lose control? And how did it come to this? Background. How did Camilla end up on trial? No one could have ever imagined that Queen Camilla would one day sit in a courtroom fighting for her life. But here we are. It all started years ago when Camilla finally became queen. Some said she was the woman who stood by King Charles through thick and thin. Others, however, always saw her as the royal family's biggest mistake. After becoming queen, Camilla enjoyed all the power that came with the crown. But with power came greed. At least that's what the prosecutors claimed. Over the years, rumors started floating around. People whispered about Camilla misusing royal funds. Lavish parties, expensive jewelry, secret getaways, all funded by money that was meant for the people. The press picked up on this quickly, and the media ran wild with stories of missing funds and secret offshore accounts. As if that wasn't enough, there were also talks about Camilla abusing her power inside the palace. Some former staff came forward, claiming that she treated them horribly. They said she would scream at them, make their lives miserable, and even threaten to get them fired if they didn't obey her every word. For years, these stories were brushed under the rug, but the list of accusations just kept growing. On top of everything, conspiracy theories took over the internet. Some people started believing that Camilla had been plotting her way to the throne for years. There were crazy claims that she had even pushed Princess Diana out of the way to make room for herself. Of course, no one could ever prove that, but the theory stayed alive and kept getting bigger. Slowly, the public began to turn against her. At first, they didn't believe the rumors. But when more and more evidence came out, things changed. People started calling her the evil queen. News channels debated her guilt every night. The royal family tried to stay silent, hoping it would all die down. But it didn't. It only got worse. Finally, after months of investigations, Camilla was put on trial. It was the scandal of the century. Cameras lined up outside the court. Reporters fought for a front row seat, and the world waited with bated breath to see what would happen next. No one thought it would come to this. but the evidence was too much. There was no turning back now. The verdict. Life sentence shocks the world. The courtroom was packed. You could hear a pin drop. Everyone waited for the judge to speak, holding their breath. The jury had made their decision, and now it was time for the final blow. The judge looked right at Camilla, his face stern and serious. "Queen Camilla," he said, "for your crimes against the people, this court sentences you to life in prison." The moment those words left his mouth, the room exploded. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Some people even started whispering to each other, unable to believe what they just heard. Camilla, who had been sitting tall and proud all this time, suddenly went pale. Her mouth dropped open. For the first time, she looked scared, truly scared. She turned her head slowly, looking at the royal family sitting in the front row. King Charles sat frozen, his face blank. Prince William didn't flinch. Some even said he looked relieved, almost as if he had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Kate sat beside him, her face cold, her eyes unreadable. Not a single tear was shed. The media wasted no time. Within minutes, breaking news hit every TV screen. Queen Camilla sentenced to life. Britain stunned. No one had expected it to end like this. But the worst was yet to come. The meltdown. Camilla snaps. As soon as the judge finished speaking, Camilla completely lost control. It was like watching a volcano explode. She shot up from her seat, her face red with rage. "You can't do this to me!" she screamed, her voice cracking. "I am your queen!" The judge tried to stay calm, but Camilla wasn't done. She started pointing at the jury, calling them liars and traitors. "You've all been paid off! This is a setup! A bloody setup!" she yelled. Then she turned her anger toward everyone in the courtroom. She cursed the royal aides sitting nearby, screaming that they had betrayed her. "I made you! I made all of you!" she shrieked. "You ungrateful peasants!" Security guards rushed to stop her, but Camilla wasn't going down quietly. She grabbed whatever she could, a glass of water, papers from the desk, and threw them across the room. One glass shattered near the judge's table. The courtroom was in chaos. Reporters quickly raised their cameras, trying to capture every second of the royal meltdown. "You think you'll get away with this?" Camilla roared. "I will haunt every single one of you. Every single one." It was madness. Total madness. The judge had no choice but to adjourn the court immediately. Guards struggled to hold Camilla back as she kicked and screamed. Later, analysts called it the most unhinged royal moment ever seen. And honestly, they weren't wrong. Who she attacked, targets of her wrath. Camilla's rage knew no limits that day. She went after everyone she could see. But some people felt the heat more than others. First, it was the judge. She pointed her finger right at him and shouted, "You're corrupt! You were paid to do this. You'll burn for this." The judge, of course, stayed quiet, but his face said it all. He knew things had gone way out of control. Then came the royal aides. Camilla called them snakes and traitors. She claimed they were the ones who sold her secrets to the media. "I fed you, clothed you, and this is how you repay me," she screamed. Next, she turned to Prince William and Kate. The entire courtroom went silent as she pointed at them. "You two have always been jealous. You plotted this. You wanted me gone from day one," she accused. Kate didn't react. William simply stared back, cold as ice. But the biggest betrayal, according to Camilla, came from King Charles himself. She faced him with tears and fury in her eyes. "You threw me to the wolves, Charles. After everything I've done for you," she cried. "I made this family what it is." People in the room whispered that this wasn't just anger. It was years of bottled-up hate finally exploding. Old rivalries, hidden secrets, everything spilled out in front of the entire world. Royal family's reaction post-meltdown. Once Camilla was dragged out of the courtroom, the royal family went into full damage control mode. They knew this was bad. Really bad. The palace released a short statement within hours. It said, "Her Majesty's actions were regrettable. The royal family remains committed to the law and the people." cold, emotionless, almost like they had already erased her from their lives. Prince William later spoke to reporters. His words were simple but powerful. The monarchy must move forward. Just like that, he made it clear. Camilla was done, and there was no coming back. Meanwhile, rumors started swirling about King Charles. Some said he broke down in private. Others claimed he hadn't said a word since the sentencing. For a man who loved Camilla more than anyone, this was a nightmare. The media didn't hold back. Headlines screamed, "Queen Camilla's final shame." Newspapers sold out within hours. Polls showed her approval ratings had crashed to the lowest ever recorded for a royal. Camilla had officially become the most hated woman in Britain. What's next for Camilla? Prison life and legacy. With the trial over, the question everyone started asking was, what happens to Camilla now? Her life as queen was over. Now she was just another prisoner. Some papers called her prisoner number 001, the fallen queen. People imagined her sitting in a small prison cell, wearing a gray uniform, eating plain food. No jewels, no palace, just cold, empty walls. From queen to inmate, just like that. Some said Camilla was already planning her next move. Rumors spread that she would write a tell-all book from prison, a book that would expose every secret of the royal family. And you know what? People would buy it. They'd buy it just to know what really happens behind palace doors. There were also talks that she might give interviews from prison. Tabloids were offering millions for just one exclusive. And honestly, who wouldn't want to hear what she has to say? Then there's the question of Charles. Will he divorce her now? Can he even stay married to someone sitting in jail for life? Most experts say the divorce papers are probably already being drafted. One thing is clear. Camilla's royal title is gone, stripped away. She's no longer queen. She's no longer anything. Just a name that will be remembered for all the wrong reasons. And the damage to the royal family? It's huge. Some say the monarchy may never recover from this. Others believe this is just the beginning of the end. The courtroom may have settled, but the chaos Queen Camilla unleashed will be remembered forever. A fall from power like this is something no one saw coming. Was this the real her all along? Or did the pressure finally break her? One thing is clear. This moment has changed everything.
The palace has just issued this statement.
In a crowded courtroom, something happened that no one expected. Queen Camilla, who has always stayed calm and strong, suddenly started crying. The reason? Diana's sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, had just shared shocking new evidence. This wasn't just any evidence. It was information that could change everything. The royal family, which had seemed perfect from the outside, suddenly looked very different. As the details were revealed, everyone in the room sat in complete silence, unsure of what would happen next. The truth, something many had kept hidden for years, was finally coming out. It was clear that nothing would ever be the same again. With every piece of new information, the tension grew, and it became harder to believe that the royal family's perfect image could ever be fixed. What came next would leave the world stunned. The storm that's been brewing for decades. Some stories never really end. They just stay quiet, waiting for the right moment to return. And this story, between Princess Diana, Queen Camilla, and the royal family, is one of those. To understand what happened in the courtroom today, we need to go back to the very beginning. When Diana married Prince Charles in 1981, the world watched in awe. She was young, beautiful, and full of hope. To many, she was the picture of a fairy tale princess. But behind palace walls, the truth was very different. Long before Diana, there was Camilla. Charles and Camilla had been close for years. Even after Charles married Diana, their relationship never truly ended. Diana felt it. She knew it. And the pain of that knowledge stayed with her for years. In 1995, Diana sat down for a television interview that changed everything. Calm and soft-spoken, she looked straight at the camera and said, "There were 3 of us in this marriage." It was a single sentence, but it echoed around the world. With that line, Diana pulled back the curtain on royal life and showed everyone the heartbreak she had been hiding. That interview made headlines, but more than that, it made people listen. Diana became known as the people's princess, someone who spoke from the heart, someone who hurt just like everyone else. Her honesty touched millions. Her sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, were still very young at the time. But even then, they saw what their mother went through. They saw her sadness. They saw the loneliness. And after she passed away in 1997, that pain didn't disappear. It stayed with them. Over the years, both William and Harry have spoken openly about how much their mother meant to them. They've worked to protect her memory, to make sure she isn't forgotten. For them, this isn't just history. It's personal. Now, decades later, that pain has resurfaced in a way no one expected. A new court case has brought the past back into the spotlight. What started as a quiet investigation has turned into something far more serious. And at the center of it all, once again, is Queen Camilla. What led Camilla to court? The case began with whispers, small details, unconfirmed reports. At first, it seemed like nothing more than old rumors returning. But then new information came forward. Information that couldn't be ignored. Someone from inside the royal circle, someone who had stayed silent for years, finally spoke out. They claimed there were letters, audio recordings, and personal documents that showed how Princess Diana had been treated during her time in the royal family. More specifically, these records suggested there had been a quiet but deliberate effort to control how Diana was seen by the public. According to the source, some of the people involved wanted Diana to appear unstable, emotional, difficult, even unfit for royal life. And the name that appeared more than once? Camilla. The documents didn't accuse her of causing harm directly, but they suggested that she may have been part of conversations meant to protect her own image, conversations that came at Diana's expense. Once this information became known, legal teams got involved. Investigators looked at the materials, and eventually, the court agreed there was enough evidence to move forward. A formal hearing was scheduled. Queen Camilla was named in the case. That alone was shocking. For years, she had managed to avoid direct involvement in controversies like this. But now she was being asked to face difficult questions under the full light of the law. Inside the palace, there was clear concern. Efforts were made to handle the matter privately. Meetings were held. Lawyers spoke on her behalf, but none of it stopped the legal process. The case was too serious, the documents too detailed. So despite everything, Camilla had to appear. Not in royal regalia, not on a palace balcony, but in a courtroom, where titles didn't matter, and truth was the only crown that counted. William and Harry take the stand and shake the monarchy. When Prince William and Prince Harry entered the courtroom, there was no royal ceremony, no grand entrance, just two sons, walking quietly, ready to speak about their mother. Prince William took the stand first. He was calm, steady, and clear. His voice didn't shake, but you could feel the emotion in every word. He spoke about Diana not as a public figure, but as a mother. He described how hard she tried to stay strong for them, even when things inside the palace were falling apart. At one point, William said, "We owe it to our mother. She never stopped loving us, even when she felt like the world turned its back on her. Now, we must speak for her." He didn't accuse anyone directly. That wasn't his way. But the message was clear. His mother had suffered, and someone needed to take responsibility for that. Then came Prince Harry. His approach was different. More emotional, more direct. He didn't hold back. Harry spoke about how his mother was followed, how her words were twisted, how she was left alone when she needed support the most. He talked about the pain she carried and the nights she cried behind closed doors. He said, "They tried to silence her. They made her feel like she was the problem, but she was only telling the truth." Then came the real turning point. Evidence was presented. Letters written by Princess Diana herself. Handwritten, honest, and full of emotion. In one letter, Diana wrote that she didn't feel safe. That there were people around Charles who saw her as a threat. She didn't name names, but the suggestions were clear. Another note described how her image was being torn apart. That stories were being planted. That someone was trying to paint her as unstable. Not because it was true, but because it served a purpose. These letters were followed by recordings, short audio clips where Diana described the pressure she was under, how alone she felt, how she feared that even her own words could be used against her. The room fell silent. All eyes turned to Camilla. She didn't speak. She didn't interrupt. But her reactions said everything. The crown cracks. Camilla's most vulnerable moment. Queen Camilla is known for keeping her emotions in check. She rarely shows weakness in public. But in that courtroom, all of that changed. As Diana's words filled the room, spoken through letters and recordings, Camilla's face turned pale. She looked down, her lips pressed together tightly. A tissue appeared in her hand. People who were there said she seemed deeply shaken. At one point, she appeared to wipe her eyes. Another witness said she looked as if she might faint. This wasn't the Camilla the public was used to seeing. This was someone who seemed lost, vulnerable, perhaps even full of regret. No one knows exactly what was going through her mind, but it was clear that the words spoken that day had hit their mark. For years, Camilla has lived with the title of Queen Consort. But in that moment, she wasn't a queen. She was simply a woman, facing memories she might have hoped would never return. Her legal team tried to comfort her. They asked for breaks. They requested that certain pieces of evidence be skipped or edited. But it was too late. The truth was already in the room, and no one could ignore it. The image of Camilla leaving the courtroom, silent, tired, and tear-streaked, is one that those present say they will never forget. Not because she was broken, but because for the first time, she seemed fully human. As the court drama unfolds, the consequences of this shocking revelation are far from over. The world will be watching closely as more secrets come to light. Will this mark the beginning of a new chapter for the royal family, or the end of an era? Only time will tell.
Diana has in fact been killed in that car accident.
In a shocking twist, the royal family has dropped a bombshell that could shake centuries-old traditions. Whispers are already swirling around Buckingham Palace as insiders tease a once-in-a-lifetime revelation that nobody saw coming. Could this monumental development rewrite royal protocols and forever alter the course of the monarchy? Join us as we dive into the intrigue surrounding this historic announcement. Princess Diana's Letter and Secrets. A jaw-dropping revelation from Buckingham Palace has left royal watchers reeling. The rediscovery of a letter from Princess Diana herself. Buried for decades and now thrust into the spotlight, it hints at a clandestine secret that could challenge the very pillars of royal tradition. While full details remain obscured, sources claim that this remarkable document touches on Diana's deepest fears, her relentless emotional struggles, and anxieties about powerful figures who might have targeted her. With the royal family's surprise disclosure, people everywhere are once again scrutinizing Diana's life through a brand new lens. Even during her lifetime, Diana's personal letters were known for their raw honesty. Cartons of private notes once kept under lock and key now appear to confirm the intensity of her anguish and her suspicion that she was at risk. In the months before her tragic death, Diana openly worried about being subjected to a staged car crash, maintaining that such an incident might be orchestrated by those threatened by her activism and relentless media presence. Deemed paranoid by some and prophetic by others, these fears echoed through her final days, cutting a stark contrast to her graceful public persona. Shadows of these revelations first surfaced when her trusted butler, Paul Burrell, faced legal obstacles for safeguarding Diana's belongings. Although he was accused of theft, Queen Elizabeth II's intervention clarified that he had, in fact, been entrusted with many of Diana's personal effects, including letters. Some believe that the newly revealed letter may substantiate Diana's dread of sinister plots designed to silence her. It's no wonder that the royal family's recent announcement has ignited a flurry of speculation, inspiring questions about what else might be hidden behind palace walls. Meanwhile, Diana's humanitarian legacy resonates more powerfully publicly than ever. The same woman who braved minefields in Angola and shattered prejudices surrounding HIV/AIDS was, behind the scenes, wrestling with heartbreak, fear, and betrayal. These latest documents suggest that she harbored confidences so sensitive that, if exposed earlier, they could have shaken the monarchy to its foundation. Now, with the royal family's surprising public acknowledgement of this mysterious letter, the world is eager to see if its contents will validate long swirling conspiracy theories, or simply add another tragic layer to Diana's story. Diana and Charles's relationship. In a stunning development, the royal family just announced a shocking discovery linked to Princess Diana, one that has reignited fascination with her complicated marriage to Prince Charles. After years of speculation and rumors, the new information has people revisiting every detail of their relationship, from its fairy tale beginning to the heartbreak that ultimately defined it. Diana Spencer met Charles through her older sister, Lady Sarah Spencer, in the late 1970s. At the time, Charles was fresh from a brief courtship with Sarah, which ended amid candid remarks about not wishing to marry him. Little did anyone suspect that this chance introduction would blossom into one of the most famous romances in royal history. Despite being just 19 when their relationship began, Diana quickly discovered the challenges of loving a man still ensnared by the memory of his ex-girlfriend, Camilla Parker Bowles. Her private world soon filled with doubts. In one television interview, Charles's response to whether he truly loved Diana, whatever love means, only deepened her unease and sense of insecurity. On July 29, 1981, their wedding at St. Paul's Cathedral dazzled a global audience of over 750 million. Yet beneath the veil of jubilation, Diana sensed an emotional distance between them. She suspected that Camilla lingered in Charles's heart. Over time, these feelings hardened into despair, particularly once they were married, and Diana realized how real that emotional bond remained. The strains within their marriage didn't stay hidden for long. Diana, feeling increasingly lonely and overlooked, shockingly threw herself down the stairs while pregnant, desperate for Charles's attention. His lukewarm response to her distress left her feeling more isolated than ever. That sense of betrayal intensified when Diana came to believe that there were 3 of us in the marriage. Learning to navigate her royal duties offered some respite. Diana's warmth endeared her to millions worldwide, who admired her compassion for the sick and vulnerable. Yet even as she won hearts through her humanitarian work, she battled emotional turmoil behind palace walls. Her BBC Panorama interview in 1995 made it plain she felt alone, overshadowed, and anxious about Camilla's unspoken role in Charles's life. While the fairy tale ceremony had promised happily ever after, reality brought heartbreak. By 1992, Diana and Charles separated, officially divorcing 4 years later. The public spectacle of their split confirmed the depth of their marital strife. Amid the pressures of royal life, Diana's longing for emotional security proved impossible to fulfill. The wedding of the century. The wedding of the century, Princess Diana and Prince Charles's 1981 nuptials, dazzled an international audience, and now the royal family's astonishing new announcement has once again cast fresh light on that iconic day. Nearly 750 million people across the globe tuned in to watch Diana, a demure 19-year-old, pledge her vows to the heir to the British throne. The broadcast was filled with pageantry and pomp, horse-drawn carriages, gleaming military uniforms, and one of the most memorable wedding gowns ever seen. Even decades later, that billowing ivory silk dress, with its 25-foot train, remains an enduring symbol of fairy tale romance. Yet behind the scenes, Diana privately wrestled with doubts. She had long sensed that Charles's heart belonged elsewhere, that he'd never truly let go of his past with Camilla Parker Bowles. Despite this misgiving, the pressure of royal duty and her own inexperience compelled her to push these fears aside. On the surface, the wedding was a perfect spectacle of Union Jack bunting, trumpets, and adoring crowds. World leaders, celebrities, and aristocrats from around the globe filled St. Paul's Cathedral, a testament to the significance of what the public believed to be a joyous match. The newly released royal documents, however, suggest there was more tension behind the pomp and circumstance than previously known. Insiders hint that letters written by Diana around this time reveal a young bride bracing herself against a wave of uncertainty. Far from the storybook ceremony presented to the world, she felt overshadowed by Charles's lingering affection for Camilla. Rumors now claim that Diana's notes detail apprehension about exactly how welcome she was within palace walls, and the emotional toll she feared that day would take on her. Still, none of these private worries managed to dull Diana's remarkable poise as she walked down the aisle. Her infectious warmth shone through the ceremonial grandeur, earning her instant worldwide admiration. Long after the ceremony concluded, the honeymoon headlines continued to feed the relentless tabloids, all enthralled by the image of a shy kindergarten teacher, transformed into a global icon overnight. For many, the wedding of the century stands as a bittersweet memory of what might have been. The stirring orchestras, the sea of well-wishers on London streets, and the hushed awe that accompanied the couple's vows still captivate royal watchers everywhere. Now, Now, as the newly announced revelations rekindle curiosity about the wedding's unspoken drama, observers can't help but wonder whether this epic-making event was destined to foreshadow the stormy years that lay ahead. Struggles in the marriage. A bombshell announcement from the royal family has once again thrown the spotlight on Princess Diana's tumultuous life, particularly the painful struggles of her marriage to Prince Charles. For decades, the public has been mesmerized by their grand wedding and the fairy tale image that followed. Yet beneath the glittering veneer, Diana faced profound emotional battles that shaped her journey and ultimately laid bare the cracks in one of history's most scrutinized unions. From the start, Diana was plagued with insecurities about Charles's ongoing affection for his ex-girlfriend, Camilla Parker Bowles. Even in the early days of their courtship, references to Camilla would hang in the air, leaving Diana feeling dwarfed by her husband's emotional history. The mismatch of their ages, she was 19, he 32, only highlighted a divide in priorities. While she hoped for an affectionate match, Charles seemed conflicted, famously uttering whatever love means when asked if he truly loved Diana. As newlyweds, they momentarily played the roles expected of them, appearing at formal engagements with bright smiles that masked Diana's growing sense of isolation. Behind palace doors, Diana increasingly longed for recognition and reassurance from Charles. This longing peaked when she was pregnant with Prince William, and in a moment of despair, threw herself down the stairs in an attempt to provoke the empathy she felt her husband withheld. Instead of finding the compassion she desperately needed, she encountered a chilling indifference. Over time, Diana's anguish grew. She spoke of feeling like an outsider trapped within ancient protocols and watchful eyes. Her greatest heartbreak, she later confessed in a landmark BBC Panorama interview, was Charles's enduring closeness to Camilla. That searing admission, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded," became an iconic snapshot of Diana's struggles. It conveyed not only the pain of perceived betrayal, but the loneliness of a young woman thrust into the global spotlight with few genuine allies. Seeking solace, Diana channeled her energy into humanitarian causes, forging meaningful connections with the public at every turn. Yet even as the world hailed her as the people's princess, she returned each night to a private sphere dominated by tension and suspicion, unable to heal what she saw as a broken bond. Ultimately, these unresolved issues, combined with constant media intrusion, proved insurmountable. In 1992, Diana and Charles announced their separation, finalizing their divorce 4 years later. Now, with this startling new royal family disclosure, the world is eager to learn whether Diana left behind fresh insights into those turbulent years of marriage. For so long, her struggles were wrapped in rumors and official narratives. Diana's famous BBC Panorama interview, Princess Diana's 1995 BBC Panorama interview, remains one of the most shocking and revealing moments in modern royal history. And now, the royal family's recent bombshell announcement has renewed interest in that explosive broadcast. At the time, it felt like the entire world stopped to hear Diana break her silence on her troubled marriage and emotional battles behind palace doors. She spoke candidly, radiating a mixture of vulnerability and strength that captivated millions of viewers who were unaccustomed to such naked honesty from a member of the royal household. In the interview,